Recently, we've been getting more Star Wars news, and no, I do not mean another movie that was announced and never got done. It has to do with Kathleen Kennedy, Dave Filoni, and the switch up in leadership at Star Wars. So in this video, I'm going to talk about that. Star Wars is one of those franchises that a ton of people love, or at least they used to love, like me. It's a great story, but with a lot of the stuff that they've been coming out with recently, it's just killed people's love for Star Wars. The whole franchise has been going downhill for a while now, and a lot of people like to attribute that failure to Kathleen Kennedy, the make it lame and gay lady herself. So she started back in 2012 as the lead of Star Wars. Was that a great idea? No, probably not. But now, 14 years later, she's out. She has finally left. And Dave Filoni will be one of the two people to take her place as the lead of Star Wars. Now, I want to give my thoughts about this whole situation, about this news, but before we do that, this is what I do, this is what I talk about. I love talking about movies, new and old, and Star Wars is one of those franchises, one of those movies, many movies that I love and have loved, like, growing up. But not only that, I talk about all sorts of things, so if any of that, whether it be superheroes or fantasy series or movies or just I'm doing a Hunger Games series right now where I talk about Hunger Games. If any of that stuff sounds at all interesting to you, please take a look at my channel and see if there's anything else that you like. Any sort of support, whether it be a like, subscription, it's greatly appreciated. I'm trying to hit 200 subscribers by the end of January. So any sort of support, any little help helps out immensely. So thank you guys. There's a few different articles that I saw on here, all having to deal with Star Wars. Two started out good, on a good note. Actually, we'll save that for the end because we have some interesting stuff. Firstly, let's take a look at this article. Kathleen Kennedy officially leaving Lucasfilm. She's said this a couple times before, at least I think, and it kind of never happened, but this time it is officially happening. This was January 15th, a couple days ago. Let's see what they have to say. After 14 years overseeing Star Wars, Kennedy's exit marks the end of one of the most controversial leadership tenures in modern franchise history. That is an understatement. People despise her. People despise her. Now, when these new movies were coming out, this sequel trilogy was coming out, I was young. And I loved it. I loved Force Awakens. I thought it was awesome. I even liked The Last Jedi. I know it pains me to say that now. But as it was coming out, as there was hype around it still, I got swept up into the Star Wars hype. I loved it. Same with the third one. But it just, the more I've grown up and the more I've been let down time and time again by Disney Star Wars, the more I've realized that those sequel trilogy movies were an abomination. I'm not going to go on a rant about it, but it completely destroyed the character of Luke Skywalker, the character of Anakin Skywalker, the whole arc that happened of Anakin being the chosen one, bringing balance to the Force, of Luke being the one to pull his father from that, even though his father was this crazy evil guy who's massacred thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people, destroying planets, and Luke Skywalker saw the little tiny glimmer of good in that terrible, the most popular villain of all time, Darth Vader. He saw that little goodness and he helped bring that up, helped highlight that goodness and bring Anakin Skywalker back to the good side. And then you get to these new movies and they just completely butcher Luke's character. Completely butcher it with Ben Solo and how he was about to kill Ben Solo because he was afraid of what Ben Solo was capable of, blah, 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 a bunch of slop. It has so many problems. They ruined Star Wars, and I didn't see it at the time, but more and more as these shows came out, we get South Park. More and more as these shows came out, we'll talk about this, but more and more as these shows have come out, I think the real breaking point for me was both the Boba Fett show and the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Obi-Wan Kenobi was one of my favorite characters. He is like the perfect Jedi. So I was like, this show is going to be awesome when they first announced it. It came out and it was so underwhelming. It was terrible except for the one scene when they fight. The whole thing in and of itself makes no sense because Ben Kenobi is a hermit. He doesn't see Darth Vader at all. And now they're like coming out with a sequel of it too. I don't know. And then Boba Fett was just an atrocity. That should have been the most epic show they could have made, and they made it into a joke. Boba Fett would have been the king of the underworld. It had to be a mafia style genre show, like Peaky Blinders, but in Star Wars. But what did they do? No, they took half the show to focus on stupid sand people, the other half taking forever on their 2-mile-per-hour scooter rides, and then on top of that, had to lean on the Mandalorian and Grogu for 2 whole episodes, maybe 3, to save the show. And that didn't save the show. That just... it's sad. It's sad. That's why Star Wars is in shambles. That's why it leaves a bad taste in my mouth when I do say that I'm a Star Wars fan or that I was a Star Wars fan. I talked about the last good feeling I had from Star Wars, which was last year when they re-released Revenge of the Sith into the theaters. That was awesome. I could feel the love for Star Wars again, and it was amazing to see so many other people feel the same way. But that's not Disney Star Wars. That was before them. That was before Kathleen Kennedy. And people like to say, if Dave had more power, things would be different. Let's see what they say. Felt need to install financial. So if you don't know, Dave Filoni was George Lucas's like right-hand man, for lack of better terms, kind of Lucas's Padawan almost. He was there. He is very, very, very knowledgeable on the lore of Star Wars, the story of Star Wars, the feeling of Star Wars. He likes to lean heavily into the magic of the story, the force of the story. And Ahsoka is his baby. Ahsoka is his character that he made. So he was in charge of Star Wars, the Clone Wars, all that. He helped with Mando and obviously the Ahsoka series, which are entertaining things. However, Filoni's track record raises serious questions. Let's read this. While Filoni has been long viewed guardian of Star Wars lore, his recent records offer... Right. I don't think he has a backbone. I really don't. Show, blah, blah, blah. Because in all actuality, he's been in charge of the creative stuff for a while now. But he is too afraid to stand up and shut down terrible ideas like The Acolyte. That slop where they destroy the Force, which is Dave Filoni's specialty. These crazy, not just, let me force choke type of force, but the more magical kind of it, connection with animals and the weird space teleportation, through time place. I forget what it's called. If it's just handed off, franchise still faces a fractured audience. Okay, so this is talk about Star Wars isn't fixed. That's what I was going to get to. Having Dave Filoni, and then there's another lady as well who's more so business side, who is the second kind of co-leader of Star Wars right now. This doesn't change much for Star Wars as a whole, because with someone like me and so many other people, I held on for a lot longer than I should have. There's a lot of people older than me who have just ever since Last Jedi, they're screw Star Wars, they suck now. This is not the franchise that I grew up with and loved. I just thought they were overreacting. I thought it would be a prequel situation where all these old boomers who loved Star Wars, the original trilogy, saw the prequels saw Anakin, saw Obi-Wan, saw these weird CGI things, and they were like, this is garbage, this is trash. I thought that would be the situation with these sequel trilogies, where it just needed time for people to start to love it, to realize that, oh, it wasn't even that bad. It's pretty good, actually. It's been 10 years. It's been 10 years, and it still pisses me off thinking about it. So, does this change anything? Getting Kathleen Kennedy out of there and putting Dave Filoni on the head? No. You know why? Because it's already a sinking ship. It's already underneath the water. They've already all drowned. They killed their franchise by fracturing it, by having her speak, having Rue from the Hunger Games, I forget her actual name, having her speak and do a diss track on 90% of your fan base. It's terrible. Star Wars is unsavable. It's unsavable. Let's see what they have to say. A fractured audience, exactly. Because if you don't like our new show, you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're a homophobe, you're a misogynist. No, I'm just a fan of good shit. That's what I am, and that's what so many other people are. It's like, get your garbage political stances out of here. We don't need it. Diminished theatrical relevance. Exactly. They haven't released a movie in forever, and the movie that they're releasing this year, Mando and Grogu, is not a movie. Like, Mando and Grogu is a show. Season 3 of it was trash. That's a dying franchise. That's not franchise, but series, because Season 1 was awesome. It was cool. It was an original idea. Season 2 was the very start of, hey, let's get cameos. Let's get this nostalgia feeling in there. I loved it. Season 3, they kind of tried to do the same thing, bring back nostalgia, but at the end of the day, it's just falling off. It's falling off. It's not enough for this nameless, faceless bounty hunter to carry Star Wars, which is the Force, which is lightsabers, which is good versus evil. You can't put that on the shoulders of a Mandalorian and his little alien buddy. It's not going to work. So yeah, they don't have any good movies. Escalating production costs. I didn't even think about that. Creative leadership. Yep. Exactly. They still have a bunch of the people there who have made this slop in the first place. Kathleen Kennedy, blah, blah, blah. Cool. So that's that article. What's this one have to say? Kathleen Kennedy attacks Star Wars fans in exit video or interview. Deadline. Rather than acknowledging widespread dissatisfaction with the direction of Star Wars under her leadership, Kathleen Kennedy once again places the blame squarely on fans themselves. That's what they've been doing this whole entire time. You don't like our garbage that we put out? That's your fault. No, it's not. We're the one paying your paycheck, Kathleen Kennedy, or lack thereof. Star Wars under leadership, rooted, resistance, change. People love something for that something. If you change that something, people aren't going to love it. If my mom has a beautiful, amazing, delicious apple pie, that I've loved for years and years and years, and then I come home on Thanksgiving, and instead of apples, she has like pears and peaches and blueberries all mushed together, and she changes the crust, and she changes the cinnamon sugar on top, and all this other stuff. If you switch that around and change it, and then she presents it as, hey, here's my apple pie, of course I'm going to be like, what the fuck is this? This isn't your apple pie. This isn't good. Now, of course, I'd say it nicer because it's my mother. But if you take a franchise that everyone's grown up with, that everyone loves, the characters, the story, the fantasy of it, and you switch it around, try and make it more woman-focused or more lesbian-focused or more this and that the core fans despise, of course you're going to get backlash, and of course people aren't going to like it. That's your fault. Very, very small percentage of fan base. When asked directly about the lows of running Lucasfilm, Kennedy did not point to creative misfires, stalled film projects or the franchise's diminished cultural impact. Instead, she framed fan dissatisfaction as the core problem. The lows are that you've got a very, very small percentage of the fan base that has enormous expectations, and basically they want to continue to see pretty much the same thing. Yes, when I go to see a Star Wars film, I would like to see Star Wars, thank you. That is bullcrap. Okay, I wouldn't change anything. Perhaps the most striking portion of Kathleen Kennedy's remarks is her complete refusal to entertain the idea of course correction. I wouldn't do that any differently, and I wouldn't change anything that we've done over the years, she admitted. Of course not, because I think there is no brain up in that head of yours. How the fuck did you even get this job? Familiar pattern. Kennedy's comments echoes year of similar statements in which criticism has been attributed to a loud minority. That is false. It's the majority. And only a small portion of us have the balls to say anything. And when you do woke crap, even that isn't enough to satisfy the small portion of people that you were trying to appease to in the first place. They never get satisfied. They thought the acolyte wasn't gay enough. How about you focus on the majority of your fans, the majority of people that made it what it is? But no, they're just so fucking stupid. What this signals going forward. If this interview is meant to serve as Kennedy's closing statements on her tenure, it suggests that the internal assessment at Lucasfilm differs sharply from public perception, responsibility, blah, blah, blah. For fans hoping the departure would mark a philosophical shift, not just a change in personnel, this interview offers little assurance. Because Dave Filoni doesn't have a backbone, he's trying to keep his job, he's trying to be nice to everyone. Like, if you are the leader of something, you're not going to be able to appease everyone. You're not going to be able to... Dave Filoni needs to put his foot down and say, no, this is not Star Wars. No, get this crap out of here. Get this slop out of here. This story is stupid. You're stupid. Get out of here. Take a hike. And just make good Star Wars. Dave Filoni, I like some of the stuff he does, but like it can't just be Dave Filoni's stuff. I see that. We need stuff like Andor, where it's taken seriously, where it's gritty, where it's down to earth almost. Like the you get the Force side, and then you get like the regular people, non-Force users side, like the Han Solos of the story, like the Andors of the story, like the I don't know. It's just upsetting because they had so much potential and they squandered it. I think there was one more. What else? What's this one? Still happening? No, it's not maybe. Rian Johnson denies Kathleen Kennedy's. Dude, Rian Johnson, he's the one who ruined it the most with his god-awful Last Jedi abomination. Ryan Kinnell, I saw his video when he was talking about this. He's been a Dave Filoni hater for this whole time. So he'll say that, what does he say? He says that absolutely nothing will change and it will continue to get worse and worse and worse. I partially agree with him. Because at the end of the day, Dave Filoni has had a ton of power already. And this little extra step to get him from second best in charge to first best in charge, it's going to be the same old crap. He's going to continue to let people walk over him, to let them shit out terrible shows and movies and ideas and all that. So, yes, I'm happy Kathleen Kennedy's out of there. She should have been out of there a decade ago. She shouldn't have ever been in there, to be honest. We just have a bunch of soy boy beta cucks like Dave Filoni who have no backbone, who have no courage to stand up for something that people love, story that people love. And as a result, at first it was slow, but now it's just a snowball of terrible, terrible shit filled with politics and agendas and gay shit and all this crap. It's like, come on. It's bad. But on the bright side, I saw this and I was very excited. Disneyland's Galaxy's Edge finally adds original trilogy icons. Darth Vader, Han Solo, Chewbacca, Luke, Leia, the original trilogy people walking around at Disney World, at Disneyland, instead of just the god-awful sequel characters. I don't mind the sequel characters. I don't mind Rey. I don't mind Poe Dameron or Finn. I just think that it's not their fault that the writers and directors kind of just butchered their characters. But like when I go to Disney World, Disneyland now, getting to see, getting to see the OG characters would make me very, very happy. Instead of just pretending like they never existed and leaning on your god-awful sequel movies. People don't like that. People don't like that. And there's a lot more people waking up to how the Star Wars franchise was butchered. And they're just checking out. They're checking out. I like this. I think that's a good move. Whoever suggested it and had the balls to suggest it, good for them, because you need that. You need these guys. These are the face, the trio that made Star Wars what it is. So lean on that. Lean on the movies that made people love the franchise in the first place. That's awesome. That's the only good news out of this. Star Wars, as sad as it is already dead. And nothing they do to revive it will work at this point, at this time. They need to put it on ice, like I've said before, and they just need to not touch it for over a decade. And then if they ever do touch it again, get people who care. People who actually fucking care, instead of people who are pretenders, who are just trying to sink their claws into anything they can. It's like, come on, guys. Like, what happened to people giving a shit about what they do, about the product that they make? Obviously, very little people on the Lucasfilm team, especially the higher-ups in it, none of them really care. All they care about is pleasing shareholders, pleasing Disney, pleasing Bob Iger, like, instead of pleasing the fans. And when they don't please the fans, when they make the fans angry, then they point fingers. You're a racist, you're a homophobe, you're a misogynist, you're this, you're that, you're everything, and we hate you. Okay, fine. I won't give you my money then. That's all I had to say about this Star Wars. Every time I talk about it, I go off on a tangent. So if you got this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. Do you agree with what I've been saying about this? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll be happy to read through those. I love hearing what you guys have to say, so don't be afraid to give your thoughts. That being said, please consider a subscription or a like. Like I said earlier, I'm trying to hit 200 subscribers by the end of the month, so any sort of help is greatly appreciated. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Make sure to eat your veggies, and yeah, have a good rest of your day. Bye.